What's up, you guys? Rasati out here in Singapore. Thank you so much for joining me back on my Night Owl podcast. You guys, I'm actually really enjoying this kind of flow I got going on at the moment. And as much as I am a little scatterbrained sometimes with the overwhelming amount of inspiration I'm picking up, the messages, the downloads, the things I need to talk about, like all my conversations, there's always something in there. And I keep thinking, you know what? I just need to find a way to record all of my phone calls because there's always something I want to like pin down and talk about later on an episode, because I think it would be really helpful to just everyone. And it's something that I noticed that Tony Robbins does as well. So whenever you see him, speak to one person who's been brave enough to stand up at some point during one of his seminars and speak about their understanding of their current dilemma, and then he picks it apart and actually shows them it's a much deeper than what they were thinking in the first place, and they have that transformation. He always makes sure to point out the fact that revelation, that the reason he's digging so much and he's actually spending so much time with this particular person is because he knows that it will help more than one person in that room. He's not focusing solely on one person where it's not relatable. They can't see, that there's a difference in the way that they're thinking and what actually is. So then he has to go into what it is that they're telling themselves. So there's something that can be taken out of that one person's example that could be spread across the rest of the seminar, and everybody can actually benefit. So in that regard, I've been like, oh my God, I wish I could go record my conversations, not to air the conversation itself, but for me to pinpoint those things that I spoke of that were really helpful so that I can go ahead and talk about them again later. Anyway, that's beside the point. I think I've just been overwhelmed and excited in general. So today, actually, what I really want to talk about is the fact that I've been kind of back and forth between whether or not to do an IGTV or to do a microblog. Now, for a long time, it took me a while to get used to actually even writing a microblog. What I first started out as on Instagram was to write down a bunch of quotes, find a picture that kind of explained that or embodied it to the best of my knowledge, and kind of use that as a visual representation of what I was going to write out below. Eventually, what I did was stop taking other people's words and actually write out what I felt, like as in the essence, I take the quote, but actually write out how I feel about the quote and what I'm seeing as a result of that inspiration from that quote itself. And then it became like a quick microblog. Now, I know people don't mind reading, but I also know that video was trending a lot, and it took me a while, but eventually what I did was I did a couple of 60-second videos, because at the time there was no IGTV, and the most that you could actually put on a video in Instagram was about 60 seconds. So I got really good at the 60-second sales pitch, elevator pitch kind of thing, and I was able to deliver enough of a message where people were like, oh my gosh, all right, that's pretty good. I needed that today. And then, of course, IGTV came along, and at first there was a restriction of up to 10 minutes. So I couldn't do any more than 10 minutes. And honestly, to go from 60 seconds to 10 minutes, I was like, how the hell am I going to talk about? What the hell could I possibly say for 10 minutes? All the while full well knowing that, I have a podcast in the background. But anyway, that's beside the point. I realized that I could say a lot more with the IGTV. So then, of course, it became one of my 3 columns that I was going to do a video, and the other 2 would still be microblogs. But now I've come to the realization that I could still keep the grid looking the same, but I can add in IGTV behind the cover of the grid, and the aesthetic will still be the same, but the information becomes more. So now it's a toss-up between, do I write a microblog? Because there is a limit on the characters as well in the caption area. And then do I do Instagram TV instead? Like, which one would be more useful? Because obviously I can say a whole lot more and give you a lot more examples and really explain the hell out of a situation. Because now, of course, I have up to an hour if I really wanted to. But the other thing is, I also know a lot of my viewers actually love the readings. So I wasn't sure which one to go with, and I'm still not sure. I'm still kind of tossing it in the air. I kind of want to use the carousel function as well, because you can put up to 10 images or 10 videos up to 60 seconds each in the post itself as a carousel. It's like a multiple video thing, right? I've done that before for some of my dance videos. But I'm kind of lost as to which one to do. And obviously it should come down to what I feel like at the time. But I feel like there's so many things that happen. I don't know what to do. It's almost like the next level of my marketing. How do I compensate? How do I adjust or at least accommodate the energy that I'm feeling? Because it's a lot. It's surges of energy at the moment, especially with all of this three eclipses in a row, lots and lots of full moon energy. Like all of the planetary stuff is affecting me on some level as well, because I'm aware of it. It's helping me understand where all my energy is ebbing and flowing from. But even then, learning about human design, like there's a lot of things that are going into my awakening, my ascension process, that I'm wondering if once a day is even enough. Should I be doing more than once a day? Should I be posting whenever I feel like it? Which actually that should be the case. That was what I was doing back in the day. But because I suddenly have an aesthetic to keep up with, and suddenly I want to make sure that, I have a theme, I have a point, I have something going on, it's kind of gotten away from me. So honestly speaking, I have not posted anything. I have not posted anything on my feed. It's been about 12 days. It's been almost 2 weeks since I posted anything on my feed. And I kind of feel terrible about that, because that's not who I am at all. I haven't gone this long not posting on my feed in a very, very long time. I think since I really began my whole coaching practice. It used to be first thing in the morning, I had to come up with something that I had to write down. It had to be done before I got off the bus to go to work, because it was that's what I used my commute for. And then it would be done. But lately I've been like stalling. I've been procrastinating. I've had other things going on. Not to say that I haven't. I've got the podcast going on. I've got my group therapy going on. I've got clients coming in all of a sudden. And I love that. But it's now, how do I manage all this energy? How do I make sure that I continue to give my audience what they need? And even then, I'm trying really hard not to repeat the same thing over and over again either. But another component to consider is the fact that there have been a lot of really, really touchy subjects. Seriously, when I look back and be like, 2020 was the year all of us woke up. Like all of us woke up. And I think that within all of those crises that have been popping up, all of these long-term issues that have been there forever that we're finally like ready to face, whether we're ready or not, it's not the point. We're facing at the moment, racism for one, across the lands, all the lands, how it pops up in microaggressions, how people speak to each other, how we've decided to start arguing all of a sudden. We used to look forward to a good presidential debate. Now it's basically mudslinging. It wouldn't matter if it turned into a wet t-shirt contest in a bucket of mud, honestly, because that's about the size of it. You're not actually talking about any of the issues. And even then, you can convince us with the issues, but then what you actually do in office, has nothing to do with anything. It's about who your campaign contributors were and what you promised them in order to receive their funding. So it's become so confounded that I don't even know what to say sometimes. And of course, with social media and all of the news that gets moved around or shared around so quickly, you don't know what's what. And while the actual difficulty is in progress, anyone or everyone actually who speaks up is almost a target for the words they use rather than the position they took. And I hate that. It's almost like you're missing the damn point, though. You're missing what I said. You're picking at what I'm wearing, but you're missing what I said. So this is the stuff that I'm actually dealing with as far as working on my feed rather than in my stories. I work on my stories every day. I'm happy to share whatever I feel like on my story. I feel really good about that. And I actually am so grateful for the archive function, because I can go back and find the quotes that I pinned there in my stories, and use them for fuel later, because everything that I post on my stories is something I feel really strongly about, something I really, really appreciate and enjoy about life, or part of my journey, my learning process, right? So back to the matter at hand. I am at a crossroads with my feed. It's the reason it's stalled all of a sudden. It's almost like you don't know what's wrong with your car until, of course, the check engine light goes off, or you suddenly hear like a squealing on your brake, or you feel like a wobble when you're driving down the road. You realize your alignment's off. You need to go balance and rotate your tires. Like I understand all of that, but I haven't been in a position where I can stop and actually fix it. And now that I'm doing this episode, I'm realizing, man, there's a lot to consider. And I do need to evolve to the next level in my own business, because it's almost like my energy is calling for it. Every time I get a new burst of something, an inspiration or a download from somebody, or this conversation that's sparked so much information in me or so much excitement in me, I want to pin it down. I want to put it into words. I want to do a podcast episode about it. I want to do a video about it. I don't really know which one is needed more, but I'm there now. I'm stuck, and I need to go ahead and make a decision, because being stalled in one aspect of my business is kind of stalling me all around as well. I feel like I'm not as productive, and I don't like that feeling. And I feel like when I'm not productive, I try to give myself more excuses to slow down and not do as much. Whereas if I get this done and I get that done, my checklist is basically getting finished. I usually will find that I am relieved that I've kind of processed the energy surge a little bit or transmuted some of that dark into light. I feel better, almost as if I've purged some stuff when I actually post and finish. For instance, today I skipped yesterday's quote of the day. I did one this morning very quickly because I also know some people message me every so often and say, hey, this inspired me. This one really hit me. I appreciate that you posted this. And I forget how much people are watching. I'm so consumed with what I'm doing for myself all the time that I forget that people are actually watching, that people are actually looking forward to hearing something from me. They've decided that I'm a part of their day. And if I don't show up, I kind of disappoint them. So I'm not trying to paint myself into the corner with that either, with everyone's expectations, but I do need to settle this. I know that I'm paused and I don't know. I honestly don't know. So I would really love all of your input. Send me messages, questions, answers, whatever, comments below. And I will consider everything because, like I said, I love what I do. And if it's going to be a situation where I have to consider video versus microblog, then I just got to go ahead and figure it out and do what I got to do because I can't stall anymore. All right, you guys, I love you. Thank you so much. Bye.